and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Yaa Asantewaa was born on 17th October 1814 BCSA, present-day Ghana. The daughter of Kwaku Apoma and Atapo, her brother Afrani Panin became the chief of Edweso, a nearby community. After a childhood without incidents, she cultivated crops on the land around Boankara. She entered a polygamous marriage with a man from Kumasi, with whom she had a daughter. She was appointed by her brother, Nana Akwasi Afrani Pese, ruler of Edweso. When her brother died in 1894, Yaa Asantewaa used her right as Queen Mother to nominate her own grandson as Ejisuhene, when the British exiled her grandson to the Seychelles in 1896. Along with the King of Ashanti Prempeh I and other members of the Ashanti government, Yaa Asantewaa became the regent of the Ejisu Juaben district in the Ashanti Empire, now part of modern-day Ghana. After the exile of Prempeh I, the British Governor-General of the Gold Coast, Frederick Hodgson, demanded the golden stool, the symbol of the Ashanti nation. There was a disagreement among the members of the Ashanti government at Kumasi on how to go about this. In 1900, she led the Ashanti War, also known as the War of the Golden Stool, against the British Empire. The Ashanti-British War of the Golden Stool, also known as the Yaa Asantewaa War, was led by Queen Mother Nana Yaa Asantewaa with an army of about 5,000. During the fighting, Queen Yaa Asantewaa and 15 other closest advisors were captured, and they too were sent into exile to the Seychelles. Her dream for an Ashanti independence from colonial rule was realized on 6 March 1957, when the Ashanti Protectorate gained independence as part of Ghana. Ghana was the first African nation in West Africa to achieve this feat. She was a successful farmer and mother, an intellectual, a politician, a human rights activist, a queen, and a war leader. Nana Yaa Asantewaa died in exile in the Seychelles on 17th October 1921.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world,
Breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay. This is the facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate fact from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News, first with breaking news. Hello, NIGDA Impact lovers. We have good news for you. In the quest to keep Nigerians abreast of the happenings in the digital space, NIGDA Impact, a flagship TV program of the National Information Technology Development Agency, is now showing here on Television Continental. It is, as always, educative, informative, and innovative. NIGDA Impact. Keep a date with NIGDA Impact, your guide to a digital Nigeria.
Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folarin, and so we're in the middle of a strike now. It had hoped that that could have been averted, but Labour goes ahead. National Assembly, in a last-ditch effort, apparently has not succeeded in persuading Labour to not make the strike go on. Okay, we'll see how it is going. When the time comes, as soon as we can make a connection, we'll connect with one or two places, perhaps the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, to see what effect the strike is having there. But in the meantime, one of the causes of all of this, of course, is the dispute between labor and the authorities, government, on a living wage, minimum wage, on the minimum wage. As you know, there has been no agreement. And so let's take a look at the minimum wage as a living wage. And one of our guests, we got Barrister Fred Nzeako. He's a lawyer and he's a man of many hats. Today he'll be wearing the hat of an economist. Thank you very much, Fred, for coming on.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
My pleasure, sir. We also have Barrister Jide Ologun. He's a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much, Jide, for making time available for us. So I see that we're joining you remotely. Of course, that goes without saying, but I hope it doesn't have anything to do with the strike.
Not at all.
Okay, it happens from time to time. Now that we have you, just let's grab hold of you, because you never can tell about the networks and connectivity. The minimum wage as a living wage. Well, clearly the federal government thinks that it is doing as much as it can, all other needs, being taken into consideration, but labor is not hearing of it. So, first of all, maybe we should start from there. What is the minimum wage, and how does one see it as a living wage? Is it a living wage? Because that, I believe, is the contention of labor, that you can't live on the minimum wage in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Uncle Yori. Let me start from stating that currently the statutory minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira. And if you benchmark that with the inflationary rate and the hardship and the pump price of petroleum, the price of electricity, you will realize that that minimum wage may end up being a traumatic wage. So let's now go to the grand norm, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. If you look at Section 16, subsection 2, it states clearly that the government should provide reasonable living minimum wage. So you see living there. And so in the current circumstance that we have, economically speaking, can we say that 30,000 naira can sustain a family at the point of at the minimum level? Because when
statistically 1,000 naira a day. Statistically.
Exactly. And when Ajero was pushing an argument, his argument was premised on the fact that you are considering a family, for instance, that has 4 children. So with the husband and wife, 6 children. So can 1,000 naira give life to a family of 6 today? And the question definitely is no. And now we have come to the point where there are negotiations. And I have stated my own concern clearly. Now the labor organization is asking for 494. It was above that previously. And the government appears to be offering 60,000 naira. Let's even assume that the government claims today that, okay, we will pay you the 494,000 naira a month as minimum wage. Can the economy accommodate it? As we speak right now, the total indebtedness of Nigeria is around 100 trillion naira. It was 12.12 trillion in March 2015. And so we are now talking about capability. And the government, beautifully so, from their own angle, came up with an argument also that the minimum wage population we are talking about, it's about 1.2 million of about 220 million citizens that we have, that if they concede to the new request, it's going to affect the others. But the big question is that, to what extent has the government been able to care for her citizens? And those are the big questions, because if you read the same section 16 subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the government shall provide affordable house, affordable food, housing, care for the old, for the unemployed, for all citizens. And that is why we found where we found ourselves now. And again, before I anchor my argument in my presentation in the interim, you have to look at the economy itself, the way it's being managed. The Constitution also says it should not be managed in a way that concentrates wealth in the hands of a few. Is that what we see? Because if you look at the wealth resources that God has given us in this nation, I'm of the opinion that we should even be able to take care of West Africa, if not Africa. So you find a few manipulating our resources, because as some are weeping and crying for living wage now, what do they earn in the National Assembly?
All right, then. We'll come back to that. Thank you very much, Jide, for that, opening gambit. And, Fred has been listening in studio here. Fred, I'm guessing that maybe you'd like to take an economic view at the question.
Yes. Good morning, my good brother Jide. I've not seen him in a long while. And yes, and you made a very important opener with respect to issues of economics, because when you are talking about living wage, you are talking about people who go to the same market with those who earn stupendous amount of money. But we need to also look at the ability to pay principle, because part of the challenges that we have today is that the subsisting, or rather the immediate past minimum wage, which is the 30,000 naira, report we have is that as at October last year, that means even up to the end of that law, about 15 states in Nigeria have not been able to pay that minimum wage. It is not as if, we keep saying, it's not as if they cannot pay, but the prioritization of government at subnational level is terribly against deep resource management, accountable resource management that will now enhance productivity. Now, if 15 states have not been able to pay, 15 out of 36, that means only 21 have been able to pay minimum wage. Now, if we now jack it up, how many will now fall below the threshold of compliance? I have been of the opinion that it is a vicious cycle trying to keep on jacking up the wage, especially this concept of minimum wage. Because when you now increase the minimum wage, you look at the consequential adjustments. Because it's not just minimum wage. So many people don't understand that we are now talking about grade level 1, step 1 in public service or in civil service. If they earn as much as labor is asking for, what of grade level 17? Because there has to be a proportionate consequential adjustment up to the highest level. Can government be able to pay? That is 1. 2, can the economy sustain that? 3, inflationary trend that has been undermining the purchasing power of the people will now go sky high. What we have been advocating is that all efforts will be made to pull down inflation, provide infrastructure, provide facilities that people will have to go and pay for. Take, for example, make public schools good, make public health institutions good, and they make infrastructure that takes care of transportation good. These 3 alone, if you know the amount of money it takes from the pocket of an average Nigerian, you will know that no matter how much you jack up the minimum wage, without taking care of these aspects of our life, then that wage can never be a living wage. Now, if government is unable to pay, because we are looking at not only the federal government, this is not the wage for federal government. It is minimum wage, it is a law. And in that law, there's a provision, section 10, subsection 2 of the law, says that anybody who fails to pay this minimum wage is liable to a fine of imprisonment of 6 months or a fine of a financial fine of 75,000 or imprisonment for 6 months. So it is a law. And if it is a law, the law also provides that those who are supposed to pay this minimum wage are anybody apart from the government, any organization or institution that employs not less than 50 workers. At the end of the day, how many of such people will be able to maintain this level of humongous amount being asked by labor? My question to labor has always been, are you going on strike because of the 60,000 offered by government or because of failure to achieve the 494,000 that you are demanding? If it is because of your failure to get the 494,000, then the strike is unrealistic and unreasonable. If it is because the government is unable to jack it up from 60,000 naira, I expect you that is making the demand to come down to a reasonable level. And that's why if you listen to many commentators, they will tell you that if labor had come down to between 70 and 100,000, possibly it is doable. Then the question now, why wouldn't government step up to that level? So people now believe that labor is making unrealistic demand, government is making unrealistic offer. At the end of the day, the economy is now receiving the bash.
Let me take Jide's perspective on that, because I like the way it was succinctly put. If labor is making an unrealistic offer, maybe government itself, it's not making a realistic offer as well.
Basically, when you talk about performance, I totally agree with that. And let me push this discussion further, the macro level. We don't have an economy that can sustain what is being demanded. And that is the truth. Because we still have the oil thieves who corner our resources. We have those who steal the gold. We have those who steal billions from government coffers, either as honorable ministers or whatever office they hold. I still read about how many billions we spent on Hajj recently. I still read recently about what we spent on medical tourism. So it's a function of prioritization. And let me say this, with the current inflation in town, even jacking up the minimum wage to 500,000 may not sustain the living demand. You talk about medicals, you talk about, providing education, particularly in a country where it appears the government has pushed provision of basic amenities to citizens. You see, I keep asking this simple question. Why shouldn't Nigeria provide electricity for her citizens 24/7? You see, and we provide to Togo, to Benin Republic, so we have a set of cabal in this nation that are strangulating, the economy. And let me say this, like my wonderful colleague mentioned in the studio, these demands are unrealistic. I don't see this government coming up to say that we pay 494. Where are they going to get the money? So in 2 weeks' time, they are rushing to World Bank to borrow. Now, subsidy was gone and gone. More revenue came into the coffers of the government. What happened? The allocation to state increased.
Okay, Jide, let me just say, I beg your pardon, forgive me, Jide, I got to interrupt you, just to say that our correspondent, Ayomide Ajayigbe, TVC News correspondent, is at the how the strike is going down there. All operations are reported to be cancelled, but let's go to our man, Ayomide Ajayigbe. Well, maybe not yet then, I don't know. Okay, I think, yeah. Hello, good morning, Ayomide. TVC correspondent Ayomide Ajayigbe at the Lagos International Airport. Go ahead with your report, please.
All right, thank you very much. I'm at the Lagos. I left the international airport. I'm now at the local wing of the Murtala Muhammed Airport. The mood here has been this way, that way. When we came here this morning, we saw a lot of people drinking, having fun, and we just thought that maybe it's a carnival, but of course it's the NLC that picketed the the entrance of the MM2. As you can see behind me, the tent is there. Some of the labor union members are under the tent, and a lot of passengers are stranded today. Most of them have been here since the early hours of the morning, and they say that they are not going to leave until they get an official statement probably from the airport to say maybe they should leave. But the truth is that most of the workers, most of those people who we attend to these passengers have been blocked from entering the airport, and some of them have gone home. Now I went to ask some of the passengers, what is the hope that you guys are going to travel today? They said they are waiting behind because, of course, we know how it is. When things like this happen, airlines don't always refund, or they don't do it on time. And they will also tell you they've lost a lot of money. So the situation here has been some sort of between the middle.
Okay, what can you say about, the word, suspended or cancelled? Because what we are getting is that all operations have been cancelled at the Lagos local airport, cancelled. So have you got any word to that effect, any official word to that effect, that today, Monday, all operations have indeed been cancelled? Or is it just a matter of we have to wait?
All right, that is a very interesting conversation, because what we got is that all operations have been cancelled. Suspended might not be the word, but in the context of what is going on here, we had to go to the Federal Airport Authority earlier to ask them how is operations going to be today. They are not even in the office. A lot of people are here. You see all the unions from all the airports authorities, the unions from the airport workers and all of that. And you can see that, in fact, the traffic is easing now. There's a gridlock here earlier, but the movement is better on this way now. But we can see a lot of people are here still hoping that the situation is going to turn out for the better. So when they said operations were cancelled today, that is from the airport authority. But from these people who are here, this traveling public who are here, they are saying that it's a suspension for now. So they are still hoping that probably some miracle is going to happen later on in the day.
Okay, well, Ayomide Ajegbe, thank you very much for that wrap-up. I know that as soon as anything else breaks, you're there for us. Thank you very much. Back to studio where, we have our discussants, Jide Ologun and Fred Nzeko, who are looking at the minimum wage as a living wage. And so far, what they've said is that it stands to reason that it's hardly a doable affair, referring to it as a living wage. And so the question of between 494,000, which is the demand of labor, and the 60,000, which is the offer of government, it's
a far cry.
It is.
In between.
It's far too wide.
Too wide. It's damn far too wide.
Now, as you have asked the rhetorical question, Jide asked it as well. Okay, where in labor's wisdom is government going to get it from? Bearing in mind what you said, that look, if you're saying that is for level 1, step 1, and it goes up to 17, and then the consequent knock-ons in society. So where...
The adjustments.
This is why some people think that sometimes labor acts as if we're not all Nigerians operating in this market.
There should be economists and consultants working and operating with labor.
Mm-hmm.
The minimum wage is a law, and everybody is supposed to obey that law. And that is why there was a tripartite committee made up of Employers' Consultative Assembly, the government, and the labor. Now, don't forget that the private sector is also involved. It's not only the public sector, not only the government, and if you come to government, not only the federal government. The federal government is able to pay what of the states? What of the private sector? what it will now
even
be.
But you've illustrated that even the 30,000, we are not. How many states?
50 states have not been able to pay 30,000.
So that's a problem right there.
Are not be able to. So I expect that Labour should be working assiduously with government to pull down costs.
Okay.
To pull down costs so that when there is stability in prices of goods and services, there will not be a need for this push all the time for increment in wages.
Well, that's what goes back to what I think was Abdul Salami, former president, who was referring to it as good governance. You got good governance, then we can, as a foundation, a lot more can be done.
A lot more can be done.
Good morning, Kesandu. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, and good morning to your guests.
Thank you.
Sir, the question is the government ready to work with Labour to bring down the cost of governance, sir? The answer is no, sir. So walk around the 36 states of the Federation. Look at the modus operandi of these governors. Look at how flamboyant they live. You understand that these men are not even serious to do this job. Let us even talk about the cost of... See, how come it is only when it comes to the issue of Labour minimum wage? People are now trying to say, okay, why don't we cut that cost? Why don't we reduce the cost of governance in this country from presidency to the last person? For me, I know what the Labour is asking is not realistic, but I think, and I strongly believe that they just had to take it their federal government to make a serious and responsible move. I had expected the federal government to say, let's do 100 or let's do 150. Judging by the current economic reality on ground, because how much does the senator take home? I've been watching the Senate president and all this pleading they are doing. What does the Senate president take home? Sir, do you know that I speak to you in a way today? We're saying that the members of the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, should come and share the palliative that the federal government even gave. Young youths in Imo State, we're threatening to even sue them. They have kept these rights in their custody, and these things are not happening, and nobody's talking about it. So I feel that the government has not shown so much responsibility on their own part. I know what Uncle Joe is doing with Osifo is to keep that in there, let these people come up a little, but they're not showing responsibility. So I feel when it comes to the issue of Labour and our workers who are doing so much to keep this country going, our politicians do not want to show responsibility. Can we cut down the cost of governance in this country? This is a major problem for us. Mr. President should start up there. Let us start. You will see a governor come to Imo State and see the comfort of our governor. This is taxpayers' money. Can we talk about this in the 30 states of the Federation? So this is a very big problem for all of us. And everybody's acting like it's not the taxpayers' money that they are wasting.
Thank you very much.
There is so much money.
Thank you very much, okay. In fact, let me, I want to come back to the point that OK has made. When you look at the attitude of governments, both at the federal level and at the state level, we'll talk about that when we come back from this short break. Please stay with us.
Following the inauguration of commercial operations of the Abuja Rail Mass Transit System by Mr. President and his grant of 6 months free train ride for all train commuters, train services have commenced in earnest since Thursday the 30th of May as follows. Train departs metro station for airport train station 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 3:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. daily. Departs airport train station for metro station 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 3:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. daily. Second train departs Edu train station for Bazangu train station 8:40 a.m., 10:40 a.m., 4:10 p.m. and 6:10 p.m. daily. Depart Bazangu train station for Edu train station 7:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. daily. For more information, visit our various train stations at Stadium, Kukuaba 1 and 2, Wupa and Basanjua, as well as Gwagwa, Dede and Kagini. Enjoy a world of safe, affordable and comfortable transportation system. Welcome on board. FCT Administration. Announcer.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. By all indications, partial compliance in Lagos to the strike that has been called. There were last-ditch efforts by the National Assembly to avert it, but those didn't work. So the strike is underway, and but it's a partial compliance in Lagos. Banks are reported, some banks are reported to have opened, and customers are being able to, access, facilities and services at the banks. But our reporter at the airport, the Lagos local airport, Ayomide Ajigbe, has been reporting, he did so on the first half of the program, that, well, as far as the authorities are concerned, it's a cancellation of all operations. But intending travelers are hopeful that something will be worked out, and maybe they'll still be able to make their journeys. But that remains to be seen. Okay, so we're now looking at minimum wage. We got Fred Nzeako as a guest, as well as Jide Ologun. And it was Kesandu, I believe, who called in and said, look, we are understanding, at least we're hearing, all the contributions to the discussion. The difference between 494,000 that Labour wants, as unreasonable as that might appear to some, but equally unreasonable to others is the 60,000 that government is proposing against the backdrop of the macro, according to Jide Ologun, economics of our society. Now, it was Kesandu who brought in the matter of the elephant in the room. When you look at the impoverishment, which is Labour's crusade, of the Nigerian worker, you don't see a similar kind of an extension that this country, this government, is bereft of funds with which to do it. There is no trimming down, apparently. You look at the size of convoys, you look at the size of activities, and all that appears is gaiety and a lack of problems. And so it is against this backdrop that some are saying that what's going on here? Is this whole thing for real? People have pointed to the gigantic salaries, as they see them, of National Assembly members and other government officials. But when it comes to the labor, the very base of the pyramid, where there's the most, the biggest segment of our society, those ones, for some reason, we can't do what we need to do for them. Elder David in Alimosho, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Yori, God will bless you, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Let us pray to God. God will help Nigerians.
Amen.
And what the union are fighting for is just 1% of Nigeria, 1%. And this is a fact. Let us tell ourselves the truth. The union should be very, very careful. This government has come to solve a problem inherited from the past government for 16 years. What is their own problem? No, what is the salary of their gate man, cleaner in their office? When you are demanding for $500,000 every month, then you not talk of their housing. You not even talk of their transport. You not talk of their medical distance. Then you not talk of pensioners. You not talk of the jobless youth. Then you are now talking of just 1%. And you are closing down the whole thing. It's political. I've always said it, I'm not playing politics. What Ajero is doing is bad. He's a member of Labour Congress. Oshimole resigned from Labour. Oshimole said when he was detained by Obasanjo during his own time, it was when he left the union. He now contests under Labour and won the election there, and it was ring out that it was the same president that brought him in. Yes. Let Ajero be very careful with Osifo. They should be very careful. If because they are from South, they are being used by politicians who have failed the election. They cannot.
Well, Elder David, thank you very much for calling in. Well, we went into some names there, but we're just looking at it as an overview, minimum wage as a living wage. And we are caught between a rock and a hard place.
It will be very uncharitable to reduce this issue of minimum wage to politics and the election. So
That's right.
David should take heed from that.
Yes.
What is important and what we have been saying is the perception index between the government and the governed is so bad that the people don't feel that those in authority also are part of this challenge of economic problems or economic issues.
It doesn't look it.
It doesn't look it.
The optics don't support
The optics don't support it. So Labour is, the people in Labour Union, they are not fools, neither are they babies. They are all in this country. We're all here together. And they see the large life being lived by those in authorities. And they will now begin to ask. That is why they are insisting on dragging government to come up. It's not as if they don't know the consequences of such huge demand. But they want government to really be more responsible to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. National Assembly budget had moved from 125 billion in 2021 to 135 billion in 2021 to 248 billion in 2022 to 344 billion. This year's budget is 344.8 billion. That means it continued to increase. Government at the executive level have now started raking in a lot of funds on account of removal of subsidy. The subsidy level had always been arguing that is where the lower rung of the people in the country benefit and enjoy something. It has been removed. Now, that means more money to the executive. What it now means is that the executive arm of government is getting more money. Legislative arm of government is getting more money. They've also increased more funding for judiciary and what is in it for the ordinary masses of Nigeria.
Okay, one moment.
And that is why they are now kicking.
Yes. Ade in the UK. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning, Yori, and good morning to your guests. What is happening in Nigeria now is a serious case. Agero is fighting for the common man. He's not fighting for the federal government alone. Because look at the private sector. Some people are earning 15,000. I know a TV station in Nigeria where graduates earn 30,000 naira. Yes, freely, 30,000. So if this thing is increased, it will affect it. Everybody will benefit from it. This government is not serious at all. They are just adamant to the suffering of the masses. What is 60,000? At least minimum of 120,000. Apart from that, every quarterly, every worker should entitled to 25 kilogram of rice, at least as a palliative to give to cushion their suffering. In UK now, doctors are going to strike. We are having an election in July 4, but they will strike a week before the election because they are using that to force the Prime Minister to negotiate with them. This is a civilized country. So strike is the only language any government understands. So Agero is not fighting for everybody. He's not fighting for this. It's only because this government, they are not telling the president the truth. The suffering of the masses. You see?
All right. Thank you very much, Ade in the UK. Thank you very much for your contribution there. Jide, coming over to you now. Fred has just spoken about the optics don't look good. It doesn't look like we're all in this together, is his contention. What do you say to that whole attitude? That perhaps this might have been a better managed situation if it was felt that what the beneficiaries of the minimum wage are, indeed experiencing now, proportionately, there is maybe fewer, shorter, what do they call those things? Motorcades and whatever, all those convoys, so that, but it doesn't look like anything is changing at the very, very top of the pyramid, but it's only them. Do you agree with that assertion that the optics don't even look good from the point of view of the government?
With that, and I mentioned it earlier. You see, when you are trying to move people in driving change, there is what we call the mirror reflection. So where you are driving at, you should also reflect it. So if we are telling Nigerians to understand why fuel subsidy should go, and with the increased revenue that has come to the government, rather than sharing it amongst the state governors that the president is now telling the citizens to look up to for accountability, why don't you, for instance, invest in amenities that will bring down the cost of living For instance, energy, electricity. For instance, in education. For instance, having access to medical care and other areas of life. But we are not seeing that. And there are some who are just enjoying the revenue, and when it pleases them, they go borrowing. And we don't have a law in the country that holds the one who has gone to borrow accountable to that indebtedness. So he borrows and moves away. I just told us in the course of this program that the total indebtedness of Nigeria was 12.12 trillion naira in 2015. It's now above 90 trillion. Who are the leaders who borrowed that money? Will you go back to Daura now and ask former President Muhammad Buhari to come back and pay back what he borrowed during his tenure? And the citizens are there. So what is the meaning of democracy that says it's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people? And that's why some of us are worried that this will not lead to an implosion because people are frustrated.
Yeah. Okay.
A tuber of yam is 4 naira. So that is with minimum wage. How many tubers of yam can a family buy? What is the price of gas, cooking gas?
I hear you. One moment, please. Let me bring in George. Thank you very much, Jide. I hear you. George, good morning to you, calling in from Ikeja.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to our guests.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, right from day one, the NSC knows that the government cannot pay what they are proposing. How do you ask government to pay a cleaner 615,000 a month? You want him to earn the same salary that the judge of the Supreme Court is earning simply because the government improved the salaries of judges? Those are some of the unrealistic things that are happening. But on the other hand, Uncle Yori, the government played into the hands of a politicized and biased labor who are looking for the slightest opportunity to bring down the government. Look at some of the appointees of the government are misleading this government. Take, for example, the power sector. You are generating more than 7,000 megawatts. You cannot transmit it. You can only transmit an average of 3,000 megawatts out of it. Transmission is impossible. The GENCO, that 3,000 megawatts that they are transmitting, that they are distributing, they want to sell it at an exorbitant price to less than 1% of the consumers.
And Mr. George, as you know, the report is even that Transmission Company of Nigeria asserts that they confirm, as a matter of fact, that labor unions deliberately shut down the national grid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Please, just allow me to say this. Are you there, Uncle Yori?
Yes, we are here. We can still hear you.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that 3,000 megawatts that DISCOs are distributing, they want to get all the money that we invest in the business from us. For example, they migrate where I live. They migrated us to an area without our consent. And we are going to be paying 4 times what we were paying. The next day, I received a notice that my meter is old, that they are going to put me back to estimated billing if I do not get a new meter. If this is what is happening to the average man, why do you think the average person will not be bitter in the society? I have been calling for the removal of the Minister of Power because it's inciting Nigerians against this government. This is one of the fallouts. The NSC now is getting emotional sentiments from the Nigerian public. You can see that many people are not condemning them. It is not wage increase per se they are looking for. They are looking for what they can use to bring down this government. We know the characters behind them.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much for calling in. That's
the optics. It goes to the optics. That's why people are not supporting government. People seem to be, because people are frustrated, people are not living, and because of that, they are looking for every opportunity to ventilate their frustration. Now the offer has come for them, and that is why go to the streets and see what is going on. Everywhere, in fact, people are even picketing themselves. People are now picketing themselves. They want, let there be total shutdown. The affluence of the rich excites the indignation of the poor. those in authorities, Yori, our constitution says to become a member of National Assembly, you need to have only school certificate. With that school certificate, you enjoy public service, you'll be on grade 1, step 1. That means that minimum wage, the capacity with which they are there, some of them are there in National Assembly, it's the capacity with the person who is on level 1, step 1 in public service. Look at the difference in earnings.
But
look at different earnings.
Yeah, but I don't think it will be step 1. It's not
minimum wage is grade 1, level 1.
Yes,
step 1.
So a school certificate holder might be somewhere on level 4 or something like that.
School certificate holder. Do they still employ school people with standard 6 in public service?
No, not standard 6.
So what else? So the least capacity, the least qualification to get job today in public service is school certificate, and that is the minimum wage.
All right,
we're talking about. Okay. When you talk about cleaner, and the rest of them, that's the minimum wage level.
Okay.
Entry level.
Good morning, Comrade Fumi in Magodo.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you?
Good morning.
I think we're not getting some things right. There's a difference between national minimum wage and wage review. They are two different things. The idea of the national minimum wage is to protect the most vulnerable, okay? People of the lowest income cadre. That's one. Then secondly, people tend to forget that the federal government is not the only negotiating partner in this minimum wage issue. There's the private sector. And the private sector, they pay well above the 30,000 minimum wage because there is a sectoral bargaining machinery that works in the private sector. Minimum wage is that is passed into law, below which no employer will go, and that's basic. Okay? I think the main culprit in this thing are the state government. The state governments have not even paid, many of them have not paid the 30,000 minimum wage. Now, if we stretch this further, if the federal government, and I think the federal government also is not putting its cards on the table properly, and they're very sensitive. You can't tell people that you cannot afford to pay when you are buying SUVs, when the entourage of the president, whenever they go, people are supposed to sit in the office and the entourage, and money is being wasted and flaunted, and workers are seeing this. Now, I think that the issue should be in collective bargaining, there's what is called deferred issue. Okay? I think labor and government should settle the basic minimum, which, in all honesty, I do not think that any government can pay 400 and whatever they're asking. That's not minimum wage. That's total wage package. That one is not minimum wage. Now, they should go and agree on a particular basic minimum. Thereafter, then the unions will have work to do. What about the sectoral bargaining? Issues of housing allowance, transport allowance, all those things are negotiated. They are not part of the basic minimum wage. And the way we are going, all may be losers. Because if the federal government decides to downsize by about 60% of the workforce, it does not pay labor. Already companies are divesting from Nigeria. And the man talking from UK, I don't know what he's talking about.
Indeed.
You mean that government should be dashing rice out? So I don't know what that means. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
That was Ade calling in from the UK.
At the end of the day, the strike, the issue will not be resolved through a strike. It will still be resolved at the negotiating table. And both parties should go to the negotiating table and make realistic demands and negotiations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fumi, for calling in. Appreciate your call. Jide, would you like to come in on this? Jide Ologun. I saw your picture just now. Well, okay, Jide.
Yes. I quite agree with all these arguments, but you see, my focus remains the economy of this nation. When the minimum wage was 18,000, as passed into law in 2011, you benchmark it with the Forex. it was even stronger than what it became when it was raised to 30,000 naira. Today, $1 is above 1,000 naira. And these are the forces we are looking at. The first industrial action in the country that was prominent was that in mid-1945, led by Michael Imodu. So between 1945 and now, one would have expected, and that was even before we became independent from the political colonialists and economic colonialists, that would have managed our economy in a way that we can be productive and offer value to citizens. Go and study Botswana.
Okay.
Botswana has been able to balance.
We've almost run out of time, Jide. I beg you, I'm sorry, but fortunately for us.
I think minimum wage and focus on the economy of this nation.
Okay. All right then.
Well, level to secure the future.
I want to thank you very much, Jide, for making time available for us this morning. Thank you very much, as always. Okay, so just in closing now, we just have a
in closing, government and labor need to come back to a negotiation table. I agree very well with Fumi's submission. Government and labor must come back. Strike will not solve this problem because it is even bringing more problems and more hardship to the people. Those who live from hand to mouth, who eke out their living on a daily basis, they are stopped from going to work. Now that the grid have been stopped from working, and those who now need that minimal energy to work have been stopped from working. So it's even multiplying the burden on the people that they are fighting for. I also don't believe that it is political. These are all issues about the economy and productivity. So we need to sit down, find out a basic minimum wage level, and then work towards productivity, increasing Nigeria's productivity and minimizing importation. If we don't do this, we tie it down to restructuring and we have a better country.
Well, it's a fine place to leave it. Thank you very much, Fred. Fred Nziako, lawyer and economist. And that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari, and there will be continuous updates on the labor situation from our man Ayomide Ajayegbe at the local wing of the International Airport. Bye-bye for now.
Is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to your busy schedule? Do you find it difficult to make it to the gym? You want to improve your overall health, but don't know where and how to start? Medical experts agree that walking, running, and jogging are amongst the best ways to stay fit and enjoy a great active and healthy lifestyle. What if there was a convenient and affordable way to improve your health, improve your mood, and lose weight right in your own home? Introducing the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill, the compact foldable treadmill that makes being active and losing weight fast and easy. Just unfold